Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. This is going to be my final video of the night, and I just wanted to do a little video on this trivial piece of content y'all might know as the Gauntlet, the Grandmasters Gauntlet. And the reason I'm doing this is not because there's not a lot of good guides out there or that I think I can do any better than them. I can't. KT1 had a fantastic guide on like the Champion Spring. I will be putting that link in the description because I'm not sure I can cover all of that in the about 15 minutes that I'm going to be taking for this video. But I did want to give my tips and strategies for each fight and mastery setups, stuff like that, who to bring, who not to bring, and my experiences with this fight as a pretty average player at this game. First of all, I want to start off by saying that I saved about 40 revives to do this. I emptied my revive pot probably around 25 to 30, and I spent the rest with just units that I had saved up. So I saved up about 25. If you want to do this unitless, I would highly recommend saving up a lot more than 25, perhaps around the 35 to 40 number. Probably 35 because I did have a lot of unnecessary revives, which I'm hoping you guys can prevent with this video. So first things first, mastery setup. There are some fights that are good for suicides. There are some fights that you really don't want suicides on. If you don't want to be switching your masteries, I highly recommend just not playing with suicides. It might cost you an extra revive just damage-wise, but you're going to be saving so many more just on the fights that you really don't want suicides. For example, Apocalypse is a fight you really don't want suicides on. Void is a fight you really don't want suicides on. I took them off for this Void, but I did have them on for a lot of it. So that's up to you. I highly recommend that you switch them off, but if you don't want to waste the units on that, please, by all means, just run it without suicides. You don't need suicides for any fight. They can only just make it a little faster. So, Assassin, mastery I'd highly recommend for any Everest content, especially this one, just because you're going to be getting them to the 20% more, and it can definitely save you a revive, give you some attack bonus without really any penalty. Despair, there's no real fight in this that you really need Despair for, because for all those you're going to be using Archangel, hopefully. If not, maybe invest some points in Despair if you don't have Archangel. So you really only need 1 point in that. Put that in something else. Put that in Courage even, because you're going to be below 20% a lot if you're playing with Hercules. So wouldn't really highly recommend Despair, but if you're not using Archangel, it could be very helpful. My team was Hercules, Archangel, Professor X, which I'm going to talk about in a second, White Magneto, and Valkyrie. One of the reasons I'm making this guide is the addition of Hercules and Valkyrie really make the Gauntlet a little bit easier, so I do want to just put a note in there if you are watching this for the first time since you've tried it since like 2021 or 2020. These are great additions to have on the team. I want to talk about Professor X very briefly just because I want to keep going on the video, but I brought him for Korg. I very quickly figured out that I did not need him for Korg. If you're really good with Professor X, bring Professor X, because he is a perfect Korg counter, and I really think that he can wipe that fight super easy. However, and this is a big however, if you're not great with Professor X, you might just want to consider just bringing White Magneto and then then Herculesing through Korg. Because you can just get that guaranteed stun with the passive with the White Magneto pre-fight, which you do want on Korg if you bring White Magneto. And that's going to make things a lot easier for you because you can just tap light 3 times. He's not going to be able to purify it, get the rock shield down, launch a heavy attack once it's down, and it's going to be pretty easy. Soloable with Hercules if you have a White Magneto. I did test it. But if you're really good with Professor X, he can take a couple other fights. I took him. I regret it. However, if you slap a mutant power boost on with that Korg, it is going to be a pretty good time for you. So I do recommend bringing Professor X if you're good with him. If you're uncomfortable with Professor X, don't bring him, just bring White Magneto. That's really all you need for that Korg fight, and you can kind of take him with anybody. Into just the bulk of the guide right now is going to be each fight and how I did it. Pretty much Doom through MODOK, and yes, I did use Hercules on Doom. You can check that out in one of my other videos. It's the Hercules nerf video. I do go through a path, not all of it, but I do go a path solely with Hercules. And he's great for Doom. I mean, not great, but he gets the job done, and you don't need to waste a revive. And plus, it's the first fight, so you can just restart it and restart it. You don't need to worry about messing up, which is nice. Through MODOK, I just used Hercules. It was easy. Spider-Ham. If you're bringing White Mags, this would be a great place to have one of those pre-fights because he's immune to debuffs, not immune to stun. So that made the fight way easier for me. You can use Hercules, you can use Valkyrie. If you have that pre-fight on, it's really just a waiting game. It is a very long fight because he has that extra power gain, and you also want to watch out for the evades. And if you're doing it all perfectly, you don't need to use a revive on that Spider-Ham fight, though it is a little tricky, so don't feel bad if you do. The next one we have is Weapon X, Archangel. Archangel solos it very easily. Use Archangel. If you don't have Archangel, Ghost can handle it. Heal block champions are probably a little bit going to be the ideal for you if you don't have Ghost or Archangel. It's going to be a bit of a tough fight, but I'd highly recommend using Archangel. It is not a problem. Valkyrie crushes this fight. I had Suicides on. It was a little bit more of a time, but if you don't have Suicides on, you go into the full Valkyrie. It's a little bit of a slow burn. Easy. Use Valkyrie. If you don't have Valkyrie, just be very careful. Then you have Korg, underline Korg. Use your second White Mag's fight on this one. Use it. Trust me. Makes the fight a lot easier. You really have so much less to worry about, so much less revives. Use the White Mag's fight. I said you can use anyone on this. I do stand by it. However, I would use Hercules or Professor X, or Ghost also works okay on it, though you do need to be very careful. Kitty Pryde, if you she can take a couple fights in Gauntlet, so if you want to take her instead of another one, she can do it by herself, but it is a very long fight. If you don't have Professor X, I would highly recommend doing Hercules for this fight with the White Mag's pre-fight, or anyone. Hercules is probably the go-to, most damage, has a little bit of the safety net with the immortality, though it does not really matter. After that, we have Dragon Man. Anybody carefully can do this. You need to bait specials. Obviously, there's going to be times where the AI is not playing into you, but it's really kind of just you can't power drain him. You gotta, get hit by block on the SP1 so that he wastes his power charge. He automatically wastes it on the SP2. Not a big deal. Play it carefully. Shouldn't be a problem. Maybe a revive or two. Black Panther Civil War. Use your last Magneto pre-fight on him. Turns him into a big old plushie. You can literally take him with anybody. You won't get the stun transferred over to you. He has a couple nodes that I would watch out for, but it's really not that big of a deal. Turns him into a plushie. Use your last White Mag pre-fight on him. So after that, we have Nightcrawler. Kind of an iffy fight. Switch him over from the evade stance, and it's not a problem at all. Because when he's in the evade stance, it is a bit tricky to switch him because he will evade. Just keep on trying. Eventually, he will fall into it. I've tested it. I've done it. But after he's switched, the fight is no problem whatsoever. I mean, you can get clipped. Sure, bad things can happen, and it's a pain to do it again. However, not a problem. Use the switching mechanic, and you'll be good. Spider-Gwen Valkyrie. Spider-Gwen's a tough one. If you have Ghost, if you bring Ghost, which I should have done, if you bring Ghost instead of Professor X, you can also maybe use Professor X for this. She won't evade, but you still can't stun. If you use Ghost, you're going to be fine. Slow fight. I used Valkyrie. I don't regret it. Super easy. Just hit into her block. Make sure you don't not hit into her block because she will evade and slap you. Domino, Archangel. Kind of just a age-old thing, especially if White Mag's on the team. He's going to increase Archangel's ability accuracy. Not that he needs it, because he can't have his ability accuracy reduced by Domino. However, it is just going to make it a little bit faster for you. Mojo, also Archangel. He hits your block like 10 times with that special one. I think it's 8 actually. 8 times with that special one. It's going to make it a lot easier for you. Just nuke him down. He's going to go down pretty quick. Probably will have to use a revive because it's Mojo and he's a little tricky. Not a big deal. Eyebomb, what I did, because he is pretty unpredictable, especially if your Archangel isn't the Magic Sig 112. He can poison you, he can take your health down. I used Archangel and then he died. Eyebomb was probably about at like 20%, and then I finished it with Hercules, no problem. So you don't need to use a revive on that fight unless you really have to, or you mess up, which happens, but that's what I'd recommend. That's what I did. It's very easy. You don't have to worry about it very much. Apocalypse. Don't have suicides on for this fight. Just don't. It's going to make your life so much easier. Trust me. I did it. I immediately turned them off. Like, I didn't even think it was worth the revive before turning them off. I turned them off immediately. He will throw a special every time, and he will just eventually get you down, even with Hercules' immortality, which is gimped by this node. Brief little thing. This node would be a great way to counter Hercules in the future. So watch out for it. Electric fluctuations makes your buff duration shorter, so your immortality is not going to be doing much. So you really do want to just play this kind of slow and careful with Herc. Don't do anything crazy. It's not a very hard fight. You can't parry stun him, whatever. But it's a very slow and careful fight if you just do it with Hercules, no suicides. So don't have suicides on for that fight. That's my only disclaimer. Sasquatch, what I'd recommend, what I found easiest, herc him down to 40%. And then after he is at 40%, it becomes a lot easier just to do it with Archangel. It's a little tricky just because he does get stun immune, but he doesn't get stun immune for a very long time. So I'd say herc him down, then Archangel. Killmonger, Ghost would be okay against Killmonger just because he does give those 5 bleeds that you can transfer into Furies with Ghost. If you bring Ghost, if you don't bring Ghost, Archangel works well, Hercules works well. Not a super tricky fight. However, I will add that if you are using Archangel, try to weave in the heavies after the specials or after baiting a heavy, but try not to block until you have a couple neurotoxins on him because he will give you the bleeds and do the block, and that is really annoying. Not sure if you can see that in this video with Hercules, but it is quite annoying. They're not super high damage bleeds, but if you're blocking a lot before you have those neurotoxins up reducing the ability accuracy, it is going to be a pain, so watch out for that. Void, I can't really think of a better counter than Hercules. If anybody has one, you can let me know. Unfortunately, though, he is not Archangelable. He's not really Ghost could do it with the power shield, but it's a little bit of a trickier fight. Hercules has really high damage specials. If you Hercules him down, and maybe a revive or 2. I showed in this video, I believe it was 2 revives, maybe 3. So not anything super crazy. Annoying because it's Void, but not super bad. Nick Fury, I do want to point this out. Nick Fury, as much as I wanted to use Archangel, and you can see it in this video if you don't believe me, the folly of my ways. For some reason, because I wasn't thinking that it was going to trigger Lionheart, it was just triggering all the time, the degen from trying to heal block him, which was weird because I thought I could just, remove the node and then he wasn't going to be heal blocked, and it would be an easy fight with Archangel. It wasn't that way. However, if I hadn't used Archangel in the beginning, it was an easy solo with Herc, which you can see, because it is pretty much just a basic Nick Fury, push to special 2. I think he even gets a little bit of extra power gain, so you can make sure he gets that special 2. Not a super hard fight. Use Hercules. Surprisingly, I really thought it was going to be an Archangel fight. I was wrong. Thanos. Thanos is really just a matter of knowing how to play him. I get killed a lot because I've played Thanos like 3 times, and I only was able to practice a little bit before this. But he is really just a matter of reading the nodes. He plays into you a lot. He's kind of not impossible. My advice, gang him down. Use Hercules if you don't really have a lot of faith, because you can get that removal from the death touch with Hercules is going to be helpful. Easy intercepts is going to be helpful. High damage. Hercules is the best option, though using a team revive on this fight if you're confident in the fight would not be a stupid idea. So there you have it, guys. If you want to see any of these fights individually, please let me know. I'll happily go back in and take it for you, because a lot of these fights aren't super hard to get to. Also, if you have any questions, please let me know, because this was something I spent my day doing, so I know a little bit about it. I think this is pretty much it. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, have a great day. Please let me know if there's anything else I can do to help you with this guide. Bye, guys.